guys, it's Holly. So today I wanted to take it back to the first year of LEGO Harry Potter's revival and have a look at the Hogwarts Express set. Now this is a set that for a while I put off. I wasn't too interested in it because I was like, you know what? I've already got one. However, I thought it looked absolutely amazing. And with the release of the brand new collector's edition version of the Hogwarts Express, I thought it would be fun to take a look at this set properly. Now this is set 75955 and retails for $80 US or 140 Australian and will be retiring at the end of 2022. So if you haven't picked it up yet and it's something that you're after, I highly suggest having a look for it now before it's too late. Now back in 2018, everything was mostly centered around the Philosopher's Stone and Chamber of Secrets. Besides this set, this was a sort of outlier, which personally for me was really exciting. So let's go and have a look. Here is the set all built up, and I remember thinking when I finished this for the first time how much smaller this train was in comparison to the last Hogwarts Express playset, which was in 2010. Overall, the train just felt a lot more shrunken down sort of lengthwise, and I imagine that was mostly so that they could do a platform and station to go along with it, which personally I don't really mind too much. I love the platform and station, and honestly that's one of the main reasons I bought this set. But before we get into that, let's have a look at the minifigures in this set. So first up, as always, is Harry Potter, and he is the exact same minifigure as he appeared in the Aragog set in 2018 with his little zip-up jacket and short legs, which is why he's technically inaccurate, I guess, to what we see Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban figures being now, with the taller legs and also the updated faces, not quite the super young ones, but also not to mention his torso is definitely inaccurate. But it's a little bit understandable considering, you know, this is 2018, we were still sort of ironing out, I think, what they wanted to do for the Harry Potter theme as an overall, since this at the end of the day was the first Prisoner of Azkaban set and we hadn't really had any others to sort of go off what we wanted to do. Next up is Ron, and just like Harry, he's the exact same version as he is in the Aragog set, complete with the short legs. Nothing about him is particularly special or unique, but at least they did get it right by having these characters in casual clothes, even if at least in Ron and Harry's case, they aren't the right casual clothes. Next up is Hermione, and she's actually the only one that has an accurate torso for the scene that this set is based off. Her legs are also really accurate, and personally, I kind of feel like, especially towards the beginning of the movie, like this hairpiece for Hermione still worked pretty well. So the only real thing that doesn't quite match up is, of course, the face print and having medium legs. Besides that, this Hermione was pretty good, and I'm glad at least one of the characters had an accurate torso for this set. Up next is Professor Lupin, and this was our first Professor Lupin for quite a while actually, and overall I think this minifigure is great. I love his torso print, I think his legs match really well, the hairpiece choice as well is really good on him, and his face is different to the versions that we've seen later on in the LEGO Harry Potter theme, and the werewolf face is definitely a lot more angry rather than sort of scared, but overall I really like this figure and I think they did a great design. Next up is the Trolley Witch, and this was actually a pretty surprising inclusion for this set, though I'm really glad that she was a part of it. She didn't really feature in the Prisoner of Azkaban, but I guess as a Hogwarts Express set, it did make a lot of sense since we've never had her before and where her trolley cart is almost always an inclusion in the set. Overall, her torso was pretty nice, however, it does lack a little bit of detail, and she's got the same face as Aunt May from all of the Spider-Man sets. Her hair is just that classic sort of curly grey piece, and then she's just got some plain grey legs to go along with it. And last but not least, we have the Dementor, and this was the first set that he ever came in this sort of version, and I really like these Dementors with their little ghostly leg pieces and their shattered capes. The only real complaint I ever have about these Dementors is that I wish that they had a double-sided face rather than just constantly giving out the Dementor's kiss. It is quite a shame that they've only got a single-sided head. Then again, you only get to see one at a time, so it's not the biggest deal in the world. To go along with the minifigures as well, there are these two little carts, the first being a little luggage trolley complete with scabbers on the end and these two little brown suitcases, and funnily enough, this doesn't actually contain wheels, it's just got some of those little arch pieces to represent wheels, so you can't actually really roll it very easily, but it's a pretty neat inclusion at least for Ron and Harry. And then similarly to that, we have the Trolley Witch's cart, which again doesn't actually use real wheels. And I feel like these days would be built pretty differently. Like this Birdie Bots sort of canister would definitely now be that printed piece with a red triangle on the top rather than a tan one. Although you do still have the chocolate frog as well as a little ice cream piece in order to represent, I guess, some candy. The whole thing is hollow though. Like it really would have been cool to see some sticker detailing on this thing, but it does get the job done. So straight off the bat, I think this set has a lot to offer in a variety of different ways. Firstly, this is a set that you can just buy on its own and you have pretty much every single component I feel like you would want in a Hogwarts Express set. Yeah, I mean, it'd be really cool to get a remake of this set yet again with a Hogsmeade station, but you could just buy this and you would be set. It also has a lot of opportunity to customize it and expand on it, which while yes, that can be a pricey venture, with something like this set, I feel like they made it really easily and probably pretty cheap too compared to a lot of the other models. But starting off, we have the platform, and at its face, it's quite a very simple build. Like, the entire thing is just sort of built up slightly on a couple of bricks and really just sort of held together by a ton of these little plate pieces, which honestly I quite enjoy. It sort of tiles off majority of it, but leaves you with enough studs that you can decorate and sort of add a bunch of minifigures and all of that, as well as just expand this platform in general. Another really cool thing about it is that it encapsulates both King's Cross as well as platform 9 3/4. So the main sort of meat of this platform really is King's Cross, complete with this little overhead bridge section, which I really love the build for. It's very simple and very basic, but it really feels, I guess, quite substantial for what it is and really gives off that this is King's Cross. One of the things I love most about it is actually this little stickered clock at the very top here. The design on that sticker is just so good. Like, I love how simple it is, and it's just on a little round dish plate, so it is sort of hard to apply, so do keep that in mind. You also have some more decoration with this King's Cross stickered tile, as well as these little lamp posts, which actually differ from the ones on the platform 9 3/4 sign, which I thought was really cool. It's a very simple and hollow design, but it really gets the job done, and that's one thing that I really love about it. And then at the end of the King's Cross section as well, of course, you have platforms 9 and you have platforms 10, which realistically, I guess, would be on this side of the platform. And then there's this section in the middle complete with a wall, which is actually on some Technic pins so that you can run through the wall and have your characters go from platforms 9 and 10 to platform 9 3/4, which is such a simple yet really cool and clever play feature. As you sort of head to the bottom of the wall though, it does sort of like get a bit tighter as you sort of hit the studs, as well as like, I guess, the other pieces on these hinge joints, but the play feature does work exactly as expected. And then we have the platform 9 3/4 sign, which is a section that we've seen before in the first ever Hogwarts Express. However, it's a lot more scaled down on this model, which honestly did surprise me a little bit. The only real telling sign that this is platform 9 3/4 is this little sort of flag piece that sits on the end here, complete with a sticker, as well as, I guess, the Sirius Black Wanted poster, which I really love. I thought that was a really neat addition. Then, like I said as well, you do get some slightly different lampposts, which I guess feel a bit more wizardy and not quite as like old school London, which was really neat, as well as this tiny little newspaper stand, complete with 3 different versions of the Boy Who Lived printed Daily Prophet tile. I would have really liked to see a tiny bit more platform 3/4 branding, like just some of the stuff, I guess, from the original film, like maybe stick it off the side here, or maybe even just include something at the top here rather than just these like little white pieces. Like, it does feel a little bit unfinished on the platform 9 3/4 side, just because of how I think fleshed out the King's Cross side is, but it's nothing too major. I feel like we've just had a lot of additions since then that would probably fit in really nicely here. And then here is the train, and there is things that I like about it, and there are things that I feel like could have just been a little bit better. But overall, I actually really enjoy it. I just wish that it was a little bit bigger. I would have preferred a slightly more expensive set and just like a tiny little bit bigger of a tender car, or just a tiny bit longer of an engine. I think the passenger car in terms of scale is pretty good, but even then, there are a couple of things that I feel like are missing or that could have been changed on that just to make it even bigger. But even then, I mean, it's nothing too major. Like, this is still a set that I feel like is really good and overall captures exactly what you want out of the Hogwarts Express. So starting off, we have the engine, and one of my favorite things about this is actually the whole wheel mechanism here, having this Technic rod that will go around and sort of really, I guess, go through and make it actually look like it's got all of those little intricate pieces on the wheels, when in reality, this train is tiny and really you can't get a whole lot of that going on. I just thought that was really cleverly done. I also love the printed Hogwarts Castle piece here, which is really neat and really complements the arches of the train incredibly well. I think the build techniques as well to get this entire center console done were really good, but it's missing a lot of, I guess, like the golden yellow detailing on the Hogwarts Express. Also, I don't think these rods should necessarily have been red. I feel like if they were black, it probably would have looked a little bit better. And what I really would have loved as well was not having some gold studs that didn't match the nice metallic pearl gold. Like, just those 2 tones of gold on the top there is a little bit annoying and sort of hurts your eyes a little bit. I just wish these studs and even this little piece on the front here could have really matched and just been like a little bit more shiny, and really complemented the set overall. Now the front section of the wheels is actually kind of interesting. There's this little piece that hinges down in order to sort of lock it into place so that you don't have this whole thing sort of sliding around and moving, and it will just slot in between these pieces here. However, when you do pick it up, it will often sort of fall out and lodge out of place, and you will have to readjust everything, but it's really simple and easy to do. On the front as well, there are a couple of extra little sticker detailings in order to carry on the sort of red as the train goes along, and at the very front we have a nice printed dish tile that says Hogwarts Express and has the train locomotive's number on it, and overall I think that piece looks fantastic. My only complaint is that the bricks underneath are light bluish grey, and you can see them even with the plate on. I wish these bricks could have been black. It just would have made the whole thing look so much cleaner, but unfortunately those colors seep through, and it really, I guess, just sort of ruins the front end of this train. Same deal goes with the grey pieces used at the bottom here, these little jumper plates as well as these clips. I just wish everything could have been black and really made this whole front section look really clean. At the back of the engine, we have some of these great pieces in order to represent some steps up, and then we have these panel pieces that make up the bulk of this back section, which unfortunately means there are a couple of gaps as you sort of head towards the front. Now at the back on the inside of the train as well, there is the furnace in order for all of the coal to be burnt, which is built up in a nice light bluish grey. And one detail I love is like including the little printed dials above there. I think that's great, as well as just leaving some space in order for a minifigure to stand. Next up is probably the weakest part of this set, and that is the tender. And I say that just because of how sort of short and stumpy this thing is. Like in reality, this is a lot longer and a lot flatter, and really it just looks like, I guess, a very quaint little squished rectangle type of thing. And it really as well does not, again, accentuate any of the golden accents that are on the Hogwarts Express. They're slightly depicted in this sticker here with this really thin line, but it looks more of a dark tan than it does a golden yellow, which really, I guess, just detracts from this set overall. And really, this tender as well should have a bunch of like coal detailing on the top, but I guess it also acts as luggage storage so that you can throw all of the little bits and pieces in there off of Ron's trolley, which is, I guess, good for like, I guess, play and like display purposes. You can sort of clean it up a bit, but overall it just looks like a very awkward shape really, and you can really tell that they sort of tried to condense this as much as possible, I guess, just to be able to put more pieces and more money into other areas of the set. And lastly, we have the passenger car, and really this is the main place that I feel like could have been improved on significantly. Firstly, I feel like this sticker in the middle is kind of useless, honestly. Like, it's just this tiny little printed circle that takes up an entire brick that really doesn't add a lot to this set. Like, I feel like you could take that off and just not have it at all, and really nothing would change. The other thing that I'm not a huge fan of is this strip being tan instead of, again, that golden yellow. Like, I feel like that just would have looked so much nicer, so much more accurate than this dark tan, which honestly just looks kind of sad, to be honest. And then I feel like another one at the top would have been really cool. The windows to me look fine. I mean, I personally feel like they've had more accurate looking windows on previous models, but for the most part it looks really good. The only other complaint I really have is the fact that the whole thing is hollow, like it's open. There's no like glass pane in these window frames here on the ends to represent a door or anything, which means it's gonna get dusty on the inside, which I'm not a huge fan of. It also just looks kind of funny to have this entire thing be open. But speaking of open, you can actually open this up by not only just popping off the roof really easily, but ripping off this entire front section in order to access the inside, where you have 4 different chairs. I love the fact that there are 4 chairs and that they're all sort of slightly sectioned off with these grey plates in order to represent the cabins in such a small space. Like, you can fit all 4 of the minifigures in here. You can fit Lupin, Harry, Ron, Hermione, and you could fit the trolley witch sort of walking down the aisle if you really wanted to, or put one of the Dementors in, which is amazing. I wish though that the blue tiles sort of continued on, or at least the blue in general, all the way across the end rather than having like these sections of black. But otherwise, I feel like this passenger car did a really good job of utilizing the space. I feel like it's all just very sort of aesthetic and I guess even practical to an extent, little things that I really feel like I would have liked to have had changed or fixed or improved on this particular one. Now, the way all these trains connect as well is actually using a variety of little Technic pieces here. So you have these little half dome things sticking out the top where you would insert a Technic pin and all of the carriages would connect together, which is great because it means you can build multiple of these passenger cars and you can stick them all together and you can have it actually go around the train track and be able to move and flow with the curves of your Lego City train tracks. So each piece just really simply snaps into place. You can pick the whole thing up, you can move it around. Like, this thing is not falling apart. It is very, very secure and very easy as well just to attach. Works really well. I think it's a fantastic system. Overall, I really love this set. I thought it was a very refreshing remake for a Hogwarts Express set. Like, at this point when this released, we'd already had 4 different versions. And while each of those were different, they were all very slight alterations between each of the models. However, with this one, having such a grand platform really makes it stand out. And I think as well is a really big step up from the last one that we had a platform for, which was 2004. I really, really like it. So if you haven't picked up this set already and are planning to, I'll leave links in the description down below for where you can purchase them. And let me know your thoughts on this set overall. Do you own it? Are you planning on getting it now instead of the grand one? Like, what do you think? And if you guys enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel down below. And until next time, I'll see you later.